if one decision, one pill, or one conversation could save two lives? Today, I'm going to be talking to Kim about choosing life. So, Kim, I'm so glad that you're on the show today. So, let's talk about the bill that you guys really played a part in about the one pill that saves lives, or really, you want it to stop so it doesn't take away life, that it does save life.
Yes, what we're most excited about is called the heartbeat bill that we were instrumental in helping to get passed. And what this bill does is once the heartbeat is detected through ultrasound, it makes it illegal for you to have an abortion. And that heartbeat is usually detected about 6 weeks of gestation. So that's really early in the gestation of a baby, but a baby actually, their heartbeat starts almost immediately. We just can't hear it. Now, you can hear the heartbeat sometimes as early as 5 weeks, 4 days, but the regular time is about 6 weeks. So that baby begins from the very beginning of conception. That is the first thing to start is that heartbeat. So we're excited that that bill is working, and we can tell that it is working because we have gone down from about 58,000 abortions in 2023 to less than 28,000 last year. Guttmacher estimated that we were going to do 28,000, but according to the Charlotte Loser, we've actually only done about 7,000 with women traveling across the states to get an abortion. So it's gone down dramatically, which is fabulous. That's exactly what we wanted to see is lower abortions, not more. So it is making a difference. It's
Oh,
turning hearts and turning minds and making people think about what abortion is. And I think that's where you're going to really see the difference is in hearts and minds. Because before we were always told it was just a clump of cells, that it wasn't a baby yet. And I think the more education women get, the better it will be for all of us concerned.
yes, yes, we want them to choose life. I mean, there's always other options, right?
Absolutely.
They can give up for adoption.
And I think that's the biggest thing that you hear all the time is women say, I'm not ready to be a mother. But the truth is once you are pregnant, you already are a mother. It's
Hmm.
it's too late. So by that time, you're actually just making a parenting choice,
Oh,
and whether you're choosing to have a life or not have a life. And really, we want them to choose life, of course. And from there, they can choose a parenting themselves or have someone else parent for them. And it's still a parenting choice. That's a hard thing to do is to choose adoption. But adoption today is so different than it was back in the 60s and the 50s. Today, you can choose the parents, you can choose their income, you can choose what religion that parent is. You can choose what area they live. And you can choose how much interaction you want to have with those parents because the birth mother can still have interaction with that child. And that's such a different era than it was a long time ago. You're not giving your child away, you're making a parenting choice. You're
oh
loving your
man,
child.
that's really, I didn't even know that. So that's very
Yeah.
exciting, and it would make a total difference for a young girl to be able to know that she would know where her child was and that the child was safe. I think that that would be what keeps so many young girls by not choosing adoption is the fear of just never knowing what happened to the child. Is the child safe? That also makes you feel like I can't give the child up, because then if I give the child up, then it could be worse for the child than living with me, and though even though I might be too young to be a mom. So I
Right,
really
absolutely. And
love
it makes the
hearing that.
child know that they were loved, that you love them enough to choose something better for them. And you can leave and tell a story. You can leave them messages. And they understand that you love them enough to pick someone
Mm.
that could take care of them better than you could at the time. So that child doesn't feel like they were abandoned. They feel like they were loved as well. It's a huge difference than what it was a long time ago. And matter of fact, this year, thankfully, to Texas Congress, they also passed a bill that is now mandatory for high school students to learn about adoption. So
Mm.
hopefully, that will continue to change the hearts and minds of our young people, that they learn more about adoption, that it's not taboo, that it's not a foreign concept, that it is more accepted.
So I'm going to ask you a question. When the young girls come in there, some of them are afraid just to let their parents know,
Mhm.
or there's a lot of fear there. So how do y'all get around the fear of letting a parent know so that they can still choose life?
We are always willing to go with them to talk to their parents, to have them come in and talk with their parents as well. Um, Today, there are so many avenues for these girls to choose as far as where they want to live. There's a lot, Catholic Charities, there's a lot of different homes that offer a place for these girls to live if they can't live at home and
Right.
have life. By law, Texas makes it so that the girl who is pregnant, whether she's underage or not, chooses how she takes care of that baby. It is no longer the parent's choice on how that child is raised. So if she wants to raise the child, that's her responsibility. It's not up to her parents to decide. And we make sure she knows that. And we make sure that the parents understand that this is her choice. And we help guide the parents as well, because we want them to be secure in that idea as well. We offer parenting classes and prenatal classes, and the parents are also invited to come in alongside that so that they can understand how best to support their daughter in these cases.
That's so good. That's just such a huge blessing. So I love that you guys have places for them to go and stay if they need to go and stay, because a lot of the time, especially in my generation and the generation prior to that, if they didn't have family, if they didn't have family support, some of those young women were, I mean, they chose the different path because they wouldn't have a home to live in. And so I'm
Right.
really glad that you guys have done that.
Yeah,
Um,
and you know what's neat is there's other places like Christian Homes and Legacy. Several of these will also, if the woman is thinking about adoption, they will, and they have other children that are at home. They can also help support them to stay in their home while they're carrying the child and support them in their home where they are at that time. They don't have to go somewhere else and live, but they can help support them with expenses while they're thinking about choosing whether they want to adopt or not. And they don't have to adopt, they can think about it. And I think that's wonderful. They offer education and they offer healing once they decide, if they decide to adopt. And because that is a hard thing to do.
right.
And they do need to have some counseling afterwards, and how to handle that loss, because it is a grief time. When you've carried that baby for 9 months and you've gotten to know it and love it, it is a time of grief, and you do need to have some healing over that time. So they offer that
Absolutely.
as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so it sounds like, okay, so do you guys offer them a place to live and a place,
Hmm.
and so they can continue to go to school and they can
Hmm.
finish their education,
Hmm.
because that's important. A lot of young girls, when they were in that situation, didn't finish their education, so had to go back later after the child was born because the schools didn't want them in the
Yes.
schools pregnant. And so let me ask you, how has that changed over the course of the year? As you know, I was a 16-year-old who had
Hmm.
found herself pregnant, and I chose life and had the baby. And so it's changed a lot since then. So
Hugely.
and school wasn't they didn't really want you there because they didn't want other girls getting the idea that it's okay to have sex and then end up pregnant with a baby, in which I can totally understand as a mom and a grandmother now. So, and even a great grandmother now. So I can totally get that. So tell me, how does that whole process work? Say I'm a young girl, I'm 16, I'm coming in for the very first time. I just found out I was pregnant. How would that look in the scene today for a young girl?
So you're still allowed to go to regular school all the way
Okay.
up until you deliver. They also have childcare in the public schools now for you to have your child taken care of. You can go to an alternative school if you so choose. There's a lot of avenues for her. She can homeschool if she so chooses to do so. So there's a lot of more avenues for a woman if she's choosing to carry her baby to term than there was before. And there's not the shame that there used to be. It that is totally gone now. And I think that it's easier for a girl who's pregnant today than it was during your age and my age. Um, in some ways, I think that's wonderful. In other ways, I don't think it's such a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, I would love to see them married first because statistically, you have such a better life if you're married first. Statistically, 80% of the time, if you wait to get married and have a children, you'll never go into poverty. You'll never have the problems that you do when you're a single mom. And so I wish better for them than what they have. But if they do choose and they do get pregnant, then, you know, the horse has already left the barn. So
Mhm.
we try to do the best that we can for them at that time. And I love that they can still finish their schooling. I love that they do have an avenue for them for daycare for their children while they're there, and that they can do that. And then of course they can come to us and have their diapers and their wipes and all those things to help them continue on with their education until that baby gets older and they can get older and
Mhm. Mhm.
finish
They
and
grow
make
up
a
with their
success of
babies.
their life.
Mhm.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's been a lot of changes, which is good too. So
Yeah, well, I
there's
love
a
what
pro
you
and con.
said because I really do believe that's it. And I'm one of those person that will tell you, please wait until you're married, until you're settled, until you're more mature, because because of my own life and my own experience. And I say that because it is easier. It's way
It
much better
is. It's
than
so much
bringing than
easier.
a child in at a younger age. I mean, still choose life, if you find yourself in that situation. Unfortunately, what happens is generational, just things happened. The way that you're raised helps makes a lot of these decisions. Unfortunately, bad decisions, come with the territory with some of that stuff. And our decisions, because you don't have the confidence in who you are, you don't know who you are in Christ. You don't know how loved you are and how valuable you are. And so you end up selling yourself short. And that's kind of what happens to most girls, at least back in my day. I don't know if that's changed
I
some.
think it's still today. One of the things that we do during their parenting classes is we have a self evaluation that we have them go through. Excuse me. And what it does is they walk through their life and we have them think about these situations that they've had that happens to them. And so many of the girls just think that it happened and they don't see until they're looking back on that these choices that they made were choices that they made, that bad things just didn't happen, that they were actions that they took. And if they understand that, then they're not going to make them in the future. And
Mhm.
many of the times we don't think about what we're doing and how our actions affect our future, and we're really proactive in that. We want our girls to become women, to be good mothers, to be good
Mhm.
caregivers, and to have a good future for themselves, and to think about how their actions affect their future, how their behavior affects their future. And I think it makes a difference. It really, really does when they come out of those parenting classes, to change their lifestyle, to change their behavior, to change what they want to see in the future so that they don't end up the same way as their mother did or their grandmother did. That,
Mhm.
it's that same theory. I think it was Thomas Jefferson that said that he wants to give you a hand up out of the mire and not make you comfortable in it. We want to give them a hand up and help them to do better, not make them comfortable in the situation that they're in.
Yeah, it
So
sounds like you guys are trying to also look for the root cause, what's deep inside of there, because a lot of those decisions, at least when I was growing up, most of the girls that ended up having sex before marriage were either just a little bit on the wild side or maybe they were sexually molested as children and so that was comfortable to them, or they were looking for love because they weren't getting loved at home, and so they were also looking for it. So there's definitely a void or a root cause that opens that door to any sin. That's just, whatever that may be. And what happens is once you start that, once you make one mistake, then you try to clean it up and you end up making
Absolutely.
another mistake. And it just kind of is a domino effect. And I know that just by my own life. And I'm sure that's happened with some of your girls. So I'm very thankful for this ministry and what you guys are doing
Thank you.
because you're helping them see that there's something better for them and that they can make a better decision because they're valuable. And I think a
They
lot
are.
of them just don't know their value,
They
you know?
don't. And you know, Trisha, most of them come from broken homes. They didn't have a
Yeah.
daddy. And
Yeah.
so they don't know who to look for. They're looking for someone to love them. They're looking for
Hmm.
someone to care for them, which is why they end up being sexually active at an early age. They're looking for love.
Hmm.
And those that do come in with another man, those men have grown up without a father. So they don't know how to be fathers, which is why we started a father mentoring program,
Oh,
is
that's
to
so good.
teach these men how to be fathers because they don't know how either. And it's a problem with our society in general that we're seeing, and it just keeps compounding that these poor children are growing up in these broken homes and they don't know how to have a good healthy lifestyle,
Hmm.
a good healthy home,
Absolutely.
and it just keeps on repeating itself. So
Hmm.
we're hoping to break the cycle, and I know
Hmm.
we can't with all of them, but we'll do the best that we can with everyone that walks through the door. And I
That,
truly believe that each one that does walk through the door was chosen by God to come through that door, that He asked them to come through and gave them the push. They don't
amen.
always say that they believe in God. A lot of them don't come through the door and they're not believers. But I
Hmm.
still think that He has sent them our way for a reason because we are a Christian ministry. And we say that we are spirit led and permission given, so we won't pray unless they give us permission to do so,
Yeah.
and we respect their beliefs. Not that we don't pray for them as they walk out the door, but
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
that means that we will not push the gospel on them, but we will respect their beliefs. And I do believe that God brought them in for a reason to give them the opportunity to hear about the love that God has for them. And whether we share that love of Jesus, they still see it in our actions and our behavior and know that they are cared for.
That's so good. So let me ask you, how many young girls do you guys see on a month
On a
or maybe a
monthly,
year?
last year we saw 2,922, almost 3,000.
Oh,
So we did 400 pregnancy tests and almost 400 ultrasounds. And we do STD testing as well. So we did over 20 STD tests, and those are all free. We've done 4 abortion pill reversals so far. I don't know if you know anything about those.
no, but
Um,
we'll talk about that in just a minute.
okay, so we've done those so far. We've seen over, last year we saw over 50, almost 60 men, and did fathering mentoring on 60 men. It's been a little slow getting started, but
Hmm.
it's moving. It's
Yeah.
moving.
And
So
60 men's nothing to sneeze about. That's a lot.
yeah, we're
That's a
excited
good
about it.
start.
We're excited about it. And we've done over three, almost 2,000 parenting classes.
Oh, that's
So
so
we've
good.
done quite a bit, quite a
Yeah.
bit. We're
Yeah,
busy.
that's a lot in one year. Okay, so
We're
now go
busy.
back to that pill reversal.
So the abortion
Talk to
pill
me about that.
reversal is 2 sets of pills actually, and if the girl takes the abortion pill, and it's known as, the first one is known as mifepristone, and the second set is known as mifepristol. So she takes the mifepristone. What that does is it basically stars the baby and keeps the baby from adhering to the uterine wall. And if she takes that pill and changes her mind, she has a 72-hour window, and she can call us or call the abortion pill hotline, and she can get a good dose of progesterone, which will stop and override that abortion pill, that mifepristone. And we have a 68% success rate without any side effects to the baby or the mother. It makes her a little sleepy. That's it. But we've had success, which I'm happy to say. But the mifepristol actually causes her to go into labor, and we can't help her after that.
Hmm.
But we've been really excited about that, and like I said, we've done 4. We have a hard time advertising for it The FDA refuses to approve it, even though they've approved every other measure of progesterone to stop any kind of miscarriage. I'm sure it's a political deal. So we've had to resort to uh, different billboards and stuff like that. Google is getting better at letting us advertise a little bit more now,
Mm-hmm.
but it's hard getting the message out, and it's so important for that girl to understand that she can stop that abortion if she wants to, because so many times she orders the pill online, which is illegal in Texas, but she still orders the pill online and takes it in a moment of panic, and then
And
changes
does
her mind and she doesn't know what to do. And that abortion pill has a lot of side effects that they don't advertise about. 11% of all women that takes this pill has severe side effects that require them going to the hospital and sometimes death. Charlotte Lozer is a pro-life organization that does a lot of research, and they came out recently with some meta-analysis, and they were finding that women that had aborted their babies were 81% more likely to have mental illness, and that is huge.
mm-hmm.
And we don't talk about that, about depression and abortion. And I think that needs to be more well known. And if you had taken the abortion pill and did try to stop it, even if you weren't successful, I think it would make a difference in that mental illness syndrome.
Oh, I agree.
I always make it a point when I speak, especially in church, because women who sit in a pew, as you know, 1 in 4 have the experience of an abortion, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
them or a family member. And they pretty much sit in silence because they feel judged.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that the church judges them, it's that Satan is whispering in their ear saying, you know, they're going to judge you and they're going to think you're worse than you are. And they think of all these things that they are. So I make a point of always telling these women that I'm speaking to that I know there's some of you that have chosen to abort. And I want you to know that your baby is in heaven and
Mm-hmm.
there is no sin too big for God to forgive, that
Mm-hmm.
you are forgiven and you are loved. And
Yeah.
usually I see at least 5 women that are crying in that sermon that I'm giving. And I try to make a point of walking over there and talking to them and asking them to go and get some help, to get some counseling, whether it's set free, forgiven and set free. There's another one by Raka. There's a whole bunch of areas that you can go online and get some counseling, even in the privacy of your own home if you want to on the web, and learn how to forgive yourself because God has already forgiven you.
Okay, there's a young girl out there, and she's gonna watch this. And I want you to give her a word of encouragement before we sign off, and then we'll sign off. Okay?
My word is take your time. If you find yourself pregnant, don't hurry. You don't have to make a decision today. You don't have to make a decision tomorrow. And no one has ever said that I'm sorry I chose life. No one. But I've heard more women than I can count say that they're sorry that they chose to abort because you can't take that decision back. And it's only a few months out of your life. Whether you choose to parent or you choose to have someone else parent for you, you can make that decision and be happy and sleep at night. So take your time. Don't jump at anything, but take your time.
That's perfect. That's perfect, Kim. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you
and
for
being
having me,
inspiring to
Tricia.
these young girls to choose life and to know that God has a plan
He
and He has a
does.
purpose, and that even if He allowed that to happen, something good will come from it.
Oh, they were a blessing. They don't think so at the moment, but in 9 months,
Mm-hmm.
all that fear is so gone. They're so thrilled to have that baby. I can't tell
Mm-hmm.
you how many times they come in through our doors with that brand new baby in their arms, and they're so excited. But 9 months previous, they were terrified and they couldn't see their way around having this baby. But they get past it. And it's such a
Absolutely.
blessing. And they can't
Absolutely.
imagine their life without it.
Well, I want to thank you, Kim, for being on. I'm so excited about what you guys are doing. I'm so
Thank you.
proud and so thankful that you are out there and that you're in our community and that we can be friends and that I can send young girls that I've met along the way to you guys and know that they're in good hands. So thank you for all that you're
Thank
doing.
you.
And I want to pray that you just continue to do it and stay strong. Hello, friends. I just want to take a moment and thank you for joining us today with Ministry with Coffee. We're so glad that you're here. And I want to ask that if this has moved you or encouraged you, the story that you just listened to today, that you would like our page and that you would share our page with your friends and your family. Together, if we work together, we can share the gospel of Jesus throughout the world at one cup, one story at a time. Thank you again for your support. We are so glad that you have chosen to minister and partner with us. Thank you again.